Hello, my name is Patrick Way. This is my presentation for the assignment 2.3 project trend analysis. This project predominantly focuses on the QSR top 50 data. The QSR is a company that provides quick service restaurants a ranking and then gives a handful of key features that correspond to it. This visual highlights the categories available and the company's total units for their proportions. As you can see, burgers have the highest category percentage, followed with sandwiches, snacks, pizza, chicken, and then global. The QSR top 50, when we compare by rank, I've weighted them. So let's say, so 1 to 50, with the weight, number 1 would then be 50, with 50 being a 1. That way they have the highest ranking up top. McDonald's and Starbucks predominantly hold up at the top, with the other trends rising up. Chick-fil-A seems within that kind of darkish blue color is rising up and shows promise. But overall, outside of the top 2 competitors, it looks like the other slots are quite sporadic and change throughout the years, with each contender kind of shifting its spot. McDonald's and Starbucks just seem to be able to remain king each year from shift to shift. Next up is the prior year's average sales. We've created a variance that way it's easier to kind of see the transition. The variance is a comparison of the year's sales to the prior year's sales. And then again, the top 50 results. The companies that seem to really be kind of making shifts within these results are, let's see here, Domino's, Wingstop, Papa John's, Arby's, Chick-fil-A, Church's Chicken, Starbucks, Jimmy John's, Taco Bell, Little Caesars, Burger King, Subway, McAllister Deli, and Starbucks. The other units, although have variance to them, don't hold such a high variance that they stick out from the rest of the group. This relation is followed within their sales variance, and then followed into total change. This one's quite a hair bit different. The main stakers changed a little bit, but as you can see, there generally appears to be a trend of consolidation of units instead of an expansion. Shifting to the top 10 QSR agents, or ranking contenders, rather, we have Burger King, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, Domino's, Dunkin', McDonald's, Panera Bread, Pizza Hut, Starbucks, Subway, Taco Bell, and Wendy's. Each of these companies within the 2017 to 2021 at one point has received a rank within the top 10. Each one of the visuals within this QR top 10 section will mimic the same scenario where the companies at the top essentially were within the top 10 between the 2017 and 2021 and would be present on this chart. As you can see, the top 2 contenders or the top 2 chart items are Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. Followed again, this time McDonald's again at the top, but with Starbucks coming in just below it. They are the top two contenders, so it will make sense that they would at times would be together at the top two again. Followed in again with Subway, following down at the top, and then second up with Starbucks, and then McDonald's. Subway appears to be on a clear decline on the number of units that it has, and is in like consolidation state, it appears. Franchise unit mimics again, with McDonald's being there at the second, Subway at the top, Dunkin' there in third, it appears. This is a representation of the top 10 and a comparison of the number of company units versus franchise units. As you can see, Chipotle predominantly seems to be, focused on company units, while Starbucks is somewhat in the middle, while the other units being, or rather the other companies being a lot more franchise focused than company focused. The QSR top 5 rising that I've chosen are Chick-fil-A, Church's Chicken, Domino's, Papa John's, and Wingstop. Each is had maybe bumps along the way, but appears to be rising and continuing to rise. Even Domino's, appears with the ribbon chart to have almost like a downward turn. But it's not a matter of it's a downward turn, it's just not as competitive as the other individuals within the group. Even in itself, yes, they had a drop in 2020, but that could be heavily due to the coronavirus and the pandemic effects that had on restaurants, because they had a rise followed up in 2021 to essentially continue on, or not continue on, but to show that they are continuing to push their values. Followed again, another thing we're breaking down by sales variance, so you have a little bit more of a these are more focused charts from the charts we've seen before, to kind of highlight how these companies in particular are pushing their brand forward. So ranked by year, as you can see, they may have all had maybe a downturn, but they are all pushing their ranks up and moving forward within QSR's ranking. Here are my top 5 falling. We have Little Caesars, McAllister Deli, Starbucks, Subway, and Taco Bell. So where these ones are falling is the main things that push these ones falling is, in this case, we have their sales are falling, followed up with, although somewhat rising, somewhat falling, some in the middle, there's no massive growth, or there is a deflation to their average sales per unit. So not only are their sales going down, but they're not pushing more units. So it's kind of like a dual-edged sword, followed in with, in a number of cases, there's either consolidation or an expansion of units, where the concern is, or for myself comes with like Taco Bell, is their numbers are down, but they're expanding units. Are they having marketing dollars to go out to help compensate for their expansion, or are they just simply expanding to fail? Yeah. And then with the other ones, with the consolidation efforts, is this in an effort to put, realizing that they've saturated markets, and then with the consolidation, it'll be potentially easier to sell more units because, the marketing dollars are being more effectively utilized, to be determined, I suppose. The top 3 that I've chosen that I think between the two top 5 groups that would be ideal to focus on are Papa John's, Starbucks, and Wing Street. They've all been rising. And again, these are just follow-up charts to kind of emphasize again where they stand. Starbucks, I believe, is kind of be emphasized within the next chart as to why it's within this grouping. Because although it has been dropping, it's held its number 2 slot and has maintained its ranking all on through. So even though it's having a downward trend, it's still considered the second best franchise available. Now, the franchise that I personally would recommend expanding into would be Wingstop. So with Wingstop, we would, in order to begin our investment, there is an initial fees, development and franchise fees that range between 10,000 to 20,000, a security deposit of 0 to 10,000, an architect and engineering fee of 94,000 to 24,000, or 9,400 to 24,000, excuse me, professional fees of 2,500 to 7,500, leasehold improvements of 167,500 to 391,000, a business operation permit of 4,500 to 8,500, a decor package of 2,400 to 5,200, or 25,200, an array of other fees that come with it. But with that expense, what is the market that would be taking it in? So I would recommend the East Lansing area. It's a college town, lacking a Wingstop. With Wingstop being focused and centered around family and sports, potentially having a major sports school along with a major city, equaling almost 100,000 population between the two could potentially be a great option. And here's why, I suppose. So in regards to potential natural disasters or crazinesses, earthquakes and volcanoes are pretty much inexistent, not just in Michigan, but especially in East Lansing, with a mild tornado index. We are higher than the United States and higher than the average of Michigan, but this is only present in April. Followed up with, so any extreme weather that has been present within East Lansing, according to its time since the 90s, is they've had a handful of thunderstorms, a bit of hail, some other stuff, a little bit of flooding, heavy snow is present, winter storms. So predominantly focusing on the more colder and springtime chaotic weather. So just things to keep in mind. The seasonality of it to essentially things would drive business is, as you can see, there's almost always some form of sporting event going on available to draw in customers. Paired with that, winter, although does mitigate tourism, there is a heavy tourism outside of that year that is present between the 5th month of the year into the 10th month of the year. So there are multiple opportunities to not only draw in general customers from the local area, but also to bring in college students and tourists. The local competition right now is Buffalo Wild Wings and then a local restaurant of Wings Over East Lansing. How we might combat against those is by just simply providing a somewhat alternative and better service. So we have 2 articles from the beginning, top from business, or 2 segments from articles, the top being from the Better Business Bureau, followed up with below being from a foodie review website. Both of them are highlighting how Wingstop is just generally better, with the follow-up being, the following being a review from a student. This student is simply highlighting in their own eyes how the family experience is even in itself better. So from a student experience, from a business experience, and from a general customer experience, Wingstop is seen as the better alternative. So with the proper marketing and I guess business drive, there is an opportunity for this franchise to succeed, especially considering all the other Wingstops that have deployed in Michigan are still present and still open today. Here are my references for my presentation. Thank you for attending. Have a great day.